Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the Weekend Eve, Thursday night. I am Brian Kress, the awesome voice. Coach 24, Darwin Penny, my brother with another mother. He is in Phoenix right now doing some scouting, so hopefully he will call in later on the show and discuss some of this football and sports that we have going tonight. And behind the scenes, running the show, Mr. DJ Scatter, George Walker. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, it's just a great evening, and I'm feeling super fantastic.
Oh, that is super fantastic. So that, or as I would say, super awesome.
There you go.
So anyway, so we've got the super wild card weekend. They keep extending new names for the wild card. They try to make it even more fancier. It's just a great weekend. Having football going, and we got the teams that need to be in there and the teams playing. So no Houston and Indianapolis games going on. So, but I will say this: Lovie Smith got let go of the Houston Texans, and I'll tell you what, he was behind the eight ball from the word go. From the second he got that job. It was a no-win situation for him. The only way that he was going to be able to stay is if they would have even been like 500 or better. But there is no way that team is going to play. And here is a fact, Mr. Walker. You remember when the Chiefs played the Texans? And remember when the Texans were up 24-0? And then Kansas City came back and scored 51 of the next 58 points. Well, since then, the Kansas City Chiefs have been 40-10 in the regular season. The Houston Texans are 11-38-1. Talk about a game-changing game. A franchise-chasing game. I mean, yes. The Chiefs have now become one of the model franchises. They've been to the AFC Championship 4 years in a row and hosted it 4 years in a row. And Houston has been considered one of the worst teams in the NFL, if not the worst. So I'll tell you what, I heard that today, and I was like, oh, my gosh, wow. That makes you stand, because think about it. Houston was really a decent team. They had J.J. Watt on the defense. They had Deshaun Watson, who was a very good quarterback at that point, and they had one of the best receivers in the game in DeAndre Hopkins. And from then on, it just fell apart. They changed ownership. They've done everything. I mean, they traded the house for a tackle, so they lost a lot of picks. And then finally, somebody picked up the Deshaun Watson, so they got some more picks and is trying to rebuild, but they have just gone downhill. And a lot of times, it takes a game like that to either make you become a contender or a pretender, and in both of those cases, it is so true. Now, so we got Saturday. We have 2 games Saturday. We have 3 games on Sunday, and then we have a game on Monday. It'll be the second Monday that they'll have a playoff game. And it will be the Dallas Cowboys going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Saying that, I wonder if that's, a lot of people would say that would be the game of the weekend because it's the Cowboys, the America's team, and then against Tom Brady, who is the GOAT, and possibly he's playing his last game as a Buccaneer unless they win, and then they'll again, and then advance or could advance next week. Well, here is the thing about the Dallas Cowboys. They are or let's rephrase it like this. Yeah, the Cowboys have lost 8 road games in a row, which is the second longest streak in NFL history in the playoffs. I don't think they've won a playoff game on the road since they were in since Jimmy Johnson was there, and they just have they've just totally have struggled. One of the model franchises, they have not even been to a Super Bowl since 1995 when they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, another model franchise. But they need to go down there and win. Now, saying that, is Mike McCarthy's job on the line, considering the fact that Jerry Jones said, is his job safe? And all he said was, yes, yes, yes. I'm not sure that his job was safe if they lose this game on Monday. Now, they are 2.5-point favorites, and the total points is 45.5. But Tom Brady is also 7-0 against Dallas and 3-0 against Dak Prescott. So, I mean, the odds are against them. Now, saying that, it doesn't mean that they can't win, but, Tom Brady usually shows up in the playoffs. He rarely has a really bad playoff game. He's had a couple, but he's played 23 years. So, but most of the time that he has a great, usually has a great showing in the playoffs. And Dallas is really desperate in needing this win. They need this win bad, because if they lose, the streak goes to 9 in a row, and you wonder when they are ever going to win a road playoff game. Now, saying that, so Mike McCarthy, his job, I'm saying, is on the line. And, but in comparison, John Harbaugh of the Baltimore Ravens, he has won 8 road games. He is 8-6 in road games, which is the most wins on the road in NFL history. I mean, more than Lombardi, more than anybody. So he knows how to win on the road. Unfortunately, they're playing Cincinnati Bengals, who could be the hottest team in the NFL. I would say maybe them and San Francisco 49ers. But they don't have Lamar Jackson. So, and Lamar is not going to play. There's no way that he's going to play. And saying that, I don't even know if he's already played his last game as a Baltimore Raven. Now, when he came into the league, he was a running quarterback, and he was phenomenal. But the last 2 seasons has ended in injuries. Even last year when he played in the playoffs, he hadn't played very long, and they got beaten, and he was sent home. Well, he is 25 years old, which ironically, now I am wearing my Georgia Bulldog jersey, my Herschel Walker Georgia Bulldog jersey. The quarterback of the Georgia Bulldogs, who just dissected the horn, or the Horn Frogs of TCU, 65-7, is the same age as Lamar Jackson. So, he's a little bit older. Lamar's still young. He's at 25 years old, but right now he hasn't even completed the last 2 seasons, and he is 25 years old. How is he expecting to get a guaranteed contract when he can't even finish seasons? That's the big question. So, Cincinnati is coming in. They are playing strong. And to be honest, they did get somewhat of a bye week with that incident with Damar Hamlin. That was an unforeseen horrible situation. But if you look at it, them and Buffalo Bills got a week off, almost to the point of what Kansas City is getting this week.
Yeah, because the game played 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Just under 6 minutes. I think it was actually 5:58 in the first quarter. So
they didn't even get half a quarter in. So, that's – and not to say anything about with the injury, because they should have stopped the game. There's not a problem there. But
no, it's not.
Like you say, it did rest everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they were a little stressed, but probably after 2 or 3 days, you could kind of get yourself back together. I can imagine the players were a little, stressed, so they needed a couple of days probably to get back. But, that's the thing. But now, how do you feel about the Chiefs getting a bye week out of it?
Oh, I think it was great, considering the fact that they wasn't even supposed to be first or second place in the AFC West. This AFC West was supposed to be so dominant. It was, and I even jumped on it. I drink the juice and everything, and I thought this was the best conference or the best division in football, and it wasn't. It was one of the it was one of the worst.
Looking for the Chargers to be a little bit better than they were, but.
Yeah, and so, you got Jacksonville coming in. And Jacksonville, I'll tell you what a difference a good coach makes. Last year they had Urban Meyer, who was roughly a joke. He was seriously a joke. He had more issues off the field than he did on the field. And I know he lost that team big time. And then you switch to a Super Bowl winning coach, a coach that's a Andy Reid disciple, which I say right now, Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL right now, no doubt about it. You got Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin, but Doug Peterson, he played for him, and then he coached with him, and now he left and did his own, and he won a Super Bowl for Philadelphia, who had never won a championship in the Super Bowl era. So they finally won that Super Bowl. And then they go to Jacksonville, and he made them a winner, where Tennessee, which was 7-2 at one point, drops to 6-10. They lose 8 games in a row. They hadn't done that since 2014, when they lost like 11 games in a row. And so you've got the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Chargers. Now, the Chargers haven't been in the playoffs for a couple of years, and Herbert, this is his first playoff experience, and this is also Trevor Lawrence's first playoff. So you would like to think that because the Chargers were 10-7 or 11-6, no, they did lose. They did lose to Denver, so they were 10-7. And you think that maybe they have the experience and stuff. They don't have the experience. A lot of those players have not played in the playoffs, so they're pretty even. And you got to go across country and play and virtually play I believe it's the second game.
Who's this now?
The Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh yeah, 7:15.
Yep, they are the second game of Saturday. The first one is Seattle and San Francisco. So here's the thing. The Chargers, after they played the Chiefs on that Thursday night game, the second game of the season, I remember that because I was in Vegas watching that game. They had 10 days off to prepare for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jaguars just totally dismantled them, 38-10. And it is the only meeting that Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence has had against each other. So Trevor Lawrence is 1-0 against them. But they have the Chargers, 2.5-point favorites. The line is 47.5 points. But the Chargers, even in San Diego or in or in LA have never made it past the division round as a wild card. So even if they win this Saturday, they're not going to go much further. Well, and it can change. It can happen, but the chances are it will not happen.
Gotcha.
Right. So I'm hoping that we hear from Coach 24. I imagine he's probably busy.
Oh, yeah, and it's, just 4 o'clock out there.
Is it? Is he 3?
Yeah,
I think he's 3 hours behind us. So
2 hours, I think.
well, then 2 hours, so 4 o'clock. Yeah, I'm forgetting. It's 6:18 right now. So.
Yep. So that's he's probably still working.
Yep, absolutely. So now, you've got the first game of the playoffs. You've got Seattle versus San Francisco. You've got division rivals playing.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco swept the Seattle Seahawks for the first time since 2011. Now, that tells you something because I was in my 40s the last time that they swept Seattle until this year. And Seattle had beaten San Francisco 14 of the last 16 times. And this also includes San Francisco a couple of years ago playing in the Super Bowl. So, Seattle had their numbers, but San Francisco took care of them this year. Now, saying that, Seattle was supposed to be considered one of the worst teams in the NFL, and Geno Smith did an incredible job of running the Seahawks, and he was the only quarterback in the NFC to throw 30 touchdown passes, and he also led football with a pass completion percentage of 69.8%. So, he did very well. Nobody expected him to play, especially for the fact that he really hadn't played in, 5-7 years?
Wow.
Yeah. So
that is saying a lot.
It does. It says a lot. Now, San Francisco's 9.5-point favorites now.
And when you look out there, the other thing you have to look at is what about the weather?
Yeah.
They should be having a lot. They've been having a lot of rain. What do they call it? The atmospheric river or something. They've
been having floodings and everything.
And they're predicting a lot of rain maybe at this game.
Well, but the thing of it is, Seattle rains a lot too.
Yeah.
So it's not, and I believe, didn't the game against the Rams, didn't they supposed to have a inclement weather too with rain and everything like that?
That may be, they're a little farther down, but I think so.
Right. So, and then they squeaked by the Rams. So, and I'll tell you what, I really was hoping that Seattle would lose because I really wanted Detroit to get into the playoffs. That was really good. Now, I did pick the Green Bay Packers to beat Detroit, but Coach 24 picked Detroit to win, and he did a much better job of predicting than I did this past week. I went 10-6, and I believe Coach 24 only missed 3 games, so he went 13-3. So he's challenging Steve Mariucci and Kurt Warner for that top spot. He passed me. He passed me and left me in the dust. I'm just hacking and coughing because of all of his dust that he left.
So
left me in that on the cartoons that smoke.
So you got to work on your picks for next year.
I have to work on my picks during Christmas time because it's once I do well during the season. But then once Christmas comes and I'm working my job at the post office, it's hard for me to try to focus because I'm working so much. And
so that starts at Thanksgiving.
Right, it does.
Yeah, that starts at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because I was like 3 to 5 games out of first place, and now I dropped near last place, and Coach 24 took over. So, but yeah, so we got Seattle and San Francisco, and then we talked about the Chargers and the Jaguars. And then, let's see, what do we have? We have, I know I'm missing one game.
You say who you got now?
Oh, I've got them both. Okay. So then you go Saturday, Seattle and San Francisco, and then you go the Chargers and Jaguars. And then I believe the first game of Sunday is the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Now, Tyreek Hill was talking about how great Tua was. He's a better passer than Patrick Mahomes. Heck, Tua didn't even finish the season. He will not play, even if somehow they break this 13.5-point underdog against the Buffalo Bills and somehow win. Tua is not playing the next week. He is done for the year. And it just keeps proving my point that Tua is going to be out of the league in 5 years.
He doesn't have the protection. I mean, he's taking too many hits.
Right.
And then some of it is just bad luck, too. I mean, because a lot of quarterbacks get sacked and stuff, so it's not a thing there. But he's been getting some of those sacks that have really cost him. It's not I don't think anybody's intentionally doing it, but you just can get those bad hits. So I don't know that it's all even the lines break down because of, it's not a quarterback in the league that doesn't get sacked. But
right, exactly.
He's just had some bad breaks on that.
Right. Well, and I think, I talked last week how players have great doctors and medical staff and everything else. I'm not sure if they took care of him when he played against the
first game. The first
Buffalo
game
Bills.
He got hurt.
Right.
When he came back after that, I think it was too soon.
Right. And he went back into the game.
Yeah.
And most of the time when you have a concussion, you're out.
Yeah.
They'll take the helmet, and somehow he was able to go back in.
Well, see, that's a lot of the line, the doctors, I think the office of the Dolphins let him down there.
Right. Absolutely.
I think.
Well, I think
the organization was more interested in him getting in there than they were in him.
Right. Exactly.
And even in his longevity in the league.
Right.
Because there's certain things you'd bite the bullet on and say, okay, we've got to put in the other guy, and let it see how the cards are going to fall. We might lose 2 games, maybe 3.
Right.
But we've got to do that so that we come back strong rather than, we're going to go right back in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and you can't leave it up to the player because they're competitive.
Right. No, they're going to go back.
They're going to say yes.
I mean, look at the 60s, 70s, and 80s players.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, Jim McMahon would have gone back in.
They're dragging their arm and stuff, and like, put me back in.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, you can't leave it up to them. But then there's supposed to be some people that are getting paid to make those decisions, to look at that on the sideline, just like they ran out and saved the lives of DeMar.
Right, exactly.
I mean, that is their job and stuff. So that's the same type of people should have been behind Tua.
Right, exactly. And they didn't. So, and sometimes you can tell organizations how good, how strong they are, how like Pittsburgh and Kansas City and stuff like that. It's easy to see which teams are the best and which teams are not the best.
Yeah, because you've got to have a top-down organization, not just a coach, not just.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be everybody playing as a team.
Right, exactly.
And they've got to feel that way about it. And I don't think Miami showed that feeling as much on that side. I mean, they're playing good. You've got, on the field is one thing, but then the rest of the organization.
Right, exactly. And, they were, you had an owner who kind of threw Brian Flores under the bus. And then you had him with some other issues, like I think supposedly last year they were tanking. There was alleged tanking.
So they could get the pick.
Right,
and stuff,
so they can get the picks and stuff like that. So, it starts at the top.
Yes.
Now you compare him with, like, the Kansas City Chiefs owner, Clark Hunt, under his father, Lamar Hunt, Lamar, God bless, rest in peace. But Clark took over what his dad did and has made it a fantastic and phenomenal organization where people do want to come and play for them. And, right now you've got the best quarterback in the league who is about ready to win his second MVP voting.
Oh yeah. We've got and we came out on top of that whole deal. That's we picked a good one.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And we built a thing around it, and I think that goes back to your coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Because since we have had Reed, he's been able to slowly put things together. They gave him time.
Yep.
And he's basically built that team up from what it was.
Well, right. And so Patrick Mahomes, when he was drafted, did not have to get jumped into the crocodile river, as you would say. Other quarterbacks get thrown in there and say, just go for it. You throw a kid in a pond and you say, you better swim.
Right.
And so they learn, but
he have one game in his rookie year.
Right, and it was the last game, and it was a game. Even if he didn't win, it wasn't going to matter.
Yes,
and had a quarterback that was willing to coach him and train him and get him prepared and ready for the next season. He knew what the score was.
Yeah,
but you have like Aaron Rodgers or even Brett Favre, because Brett Favre didn't train Aaron Rodgers.
No, he didn't want to leave.
Right, and then
drag him out of there.
And then you had Ben Roethlisberger, who he's like, look, I'm a player, not a trainer. Even Ryan Tannehill said that this year when they signed Malik Willis or when they drafted him.
Yeah.
So and look what happened to Tennessee. Tennessee fell apart. Ryan didn't even finish the season because he was so beat up and everything else. And then Malik was totally out of his realm. And then they had to bring in a guy off the practice squad on another team and to start the game. And he hardly had any time to learn. And they expected him to beat the Jaguars, which they played pretty good. Jaguars had to come back. But still, the NFL, you see all the, you hear all the tanking parts and especially like last year. And I was listening to Coach and I's show last year when we started the new year. And we were talking about how teams play for pride. And they did. And so, Tennessee was, even though they still had a shot at winning the playoffs, they wasn't going to give up. Nobody gives up. Houston lost the chance for the number one pick by beating Indianapolis.
They're pros.
Exactly, and they're trained to win, not trained to tie, not trained to tank. They are super competitive. Michael Jordan should tell you that everything that he used to do. So
when you get to that level in any sport, you didn't get there by cutting corners.
No, you didn't.
You got there by competing 100%. And you can't tell a person that's done that all the time that, okay, stop competing.
Right, exactly.
They've done that from high school to college to that. That's just them, and that's what got them to where they are.
Right.
You don't get to be a pro athlete, Venus Williams and any of them. And stuff. You just don't get to those levels by doing anything but 110%.
Right. You don't shortcut it.
No. There's no shortcut way. You've got to give all into it. So I look at any given Sunday, as your name is, and as it goes to that, any team.
Right.
They're coming out there to play. Nobody's coming out there saying, oh, we can't play. No, they've got pride.
Well, think about it like this. Chiefs were undefeated when they played Indianapolis Colts, and they were really bad. And I thought, okay, that I didn't think the Chiefs would just totally – well, I thought that they would easily beat the Colts, and then they turn around a few mistakes, and it shows. It doesn't matter how great a team you are or how inept team you are. You make mistakes, and the other team doesn't. They are more than likely to win the game.
Yep.
So
a couple of turnovers can mean the difference in a game, even with a good team and a bad team.
Right.
Like you say, a couple of mistakes, botched kicks, things like that. Those little mistakes can swing the thing all the way around.
Well, think about it. Harrison Bucker was hurt. So they had to bring in another kicker. He missed a field goal.
Yes.
I think he missed an extra point.
Yeah, we lost a couple of games there.
Yeah.
And stuff that just the kicking.
Right. Well, I think it was just the one game. So, but because we only lost 3 games this year.
Okay.
Well, but Buckhard missed the kick against Cincinnati.
That's
So you are correct.
Yeah,
you are correct.
It shows how important the kicking is and stuff.
Well, all 3 phases of the
special teams, defense, offense, everybody's got to be clicking because special teams can cost you a game.
Well, look at Buffalo. They won last week because they had 2 kickoff returns.
Yeah.
Other than that, they would have struggled to beat the New England Patriots.
And you look at the Patriots on that, talking about special teams, you let 2 get by you on special teams.
Yep.
You know, everybody else could be playing 100%, but you give away 14 points on your special team side.
Right. Absolutely. You're not. It's not everybody is Patrick Mahomes, and not everybody can come back from double-digit.
No.
I mean, talk to the Raiders. They set an NFL record by they being up 17 points or more in 3 games to lose before halftime. That has never happened before. So it just tells you that. So we are at the end of the first half of Any Given Sunday. Yeah. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and we will continue on talking playoffs. We still have more teams to talk about, and we will get that going on KUAW. This is the Any Given Sunday. Hold on. Let me get my headset on.
Okay, you're live.
All right, we're back for the second half of Any Given Sunday. I'm Brian Kress, the Awesome Voice, with Coach 24, Darwin Penny, and DJ Scatter, George Walker behind the scenes. Coach 24 is in Phoenix right now, doing his job, scouting, and hopefully we can still have him pop in and talk about what his assessment of the playoffs are. But at the time, it's just me and George, and we are working it well. So we have been talking about the playoff situations, and I think we've done 2 or 3 of them. So, yep, we've done 2 or 3. So we got a couple more left. We've got the one game, the game which is after the Buffalo-Miami game, which is the first game on Sunday, and then it is the New York Giants versus the Minnesota Vikings. Now, saying this, the Giants are 2-1 against the Minnesota Vikings, but all 3 games were played in New York. This will be the first game, playoff game. This will be playoff number 4 between Giants and Vikings that will be in Minnesota. So that will be very interesting. Now, the thing of it is, Cousins is not a prime time player. He is 12-30 in prime time and or playoff games. So that tells me he doesn't show up. And after last week playing not very well, you've got the Giants and Brian Dabo, and the Giants have been playing very, very well. A lot of teams didn't even expect them to be in the playoffs or even come close. They were just expecting a little bit of improvement. And they have really, they've really shown up. And I would say out of all the games, this would be the one where the Giants could beat the favorite, because Minnesota is a 3-point favorite with the point total of 48.5. I do not see that being a high-scoring game. So if I was gambling, guys, I'd probably take the Giants and the points, and I would pick the under of 48.5. Because I am the genius of this. Now, I will say this: next year, I am going to work on working on the lines and seeing who I would pick with the lines and everything else, instead of just saying Team A is going to beat Team B. So I would have the Giants. Like I said, I would take the 3 points. Cousins is going to have to show me something, and I still am not I'm still not one of his biggest fans, even though Michael Irvin thought that Cousins was going to win MVP. Now, can you imagine Cousins winning MVP over Patrick Mahomes, especially after what Patrick did? So, but I've got the Giants. And then Sunday night, you've got the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. And Harbaugh, like I said, is 8-6 in road playoff games, which is the most by any head coach in playoff history. Now, Burrows joined Dan Marino as the only quarterbacks in NFL history with 10 wins and 30 touchdown passes in 2 of the first 3 years. Now, the other thing about them is that Dan Marino and Joe Burrows made it to the Super Bowl in their second season. And then, even more ironic, is that they both lost to their game. Now, Dan Marino never went back to a Super Bowl. In fact, I believe he only went to an AFC championship game 2 more times, and one was in '85 and they lost to the New England Patriots because the Chicago Bears did not even want to play New England. They didn't even care about New England. They wanted Miami because Miami put that blemish on the Bears on that Monday Night Football game. And I believe it was like 92 when they played at home against the Buffalo Bills, and Buffalo beat them in Buffalo's string of 4 Super Bowls in a row. So Cincinnati is 7.5 point favorites. Point total is 41.5. Now, Baltimore's defense has really played well, and except for this last game, they had given up less than 17 points in their previous 4 games, and I believe Cincinnati scored something like 21 or something, and beat Baltimore. If Baltimore can hold down that offensive juggernaut that Cincinnati has, then Baltimore has a chance, because really they don't have an offense, period. I mean, the offense is Justin Tucker, who is the best kicker in the NFL. And even he had a little off year, but still, he is still the best kicker. You have a third-string quarterback, Anthony Brown, because Hundley is still not ready to play, and I don't even know if he will even be able to be the backup for Anthony Brown. So Anthony Brown really needs to grow up in this playoff game in order for Baltimore to advance. Now, Mr. Walker, do you think Baltimore does have a chance?
Well, I haven't followed them as much. I had a friend of mine whose son used to play for the Ravens, so I always root for them, even though they're not that good. So,
right.
It sentimentally, for that, I would say, yeah, Baltimore has a chance, but
right.
I don't really know.
Right, absolutely. So, and so tomorrow night I will do my prediction show. I won't pick who I think is going to win until I've talked with Coach 24 and get his picks. But tomorrow night I will do my show at my house and do all the predictions for all 6 games this coming up weekend. Now, I will say this. Kansas City, everybody talked about, and I even have a good friend, Cardis Rogers, who kept telling me all through the year, look what we're doing without Tyreek Hill. Look what we're doing without Tyreek Hill. We're horrible without Tyreek Hill. And yet Patrick Mahomes used different receivers, because he had games where he had 8 or more receivers, whether it's running backs or tight ends or wide receivers, scoring touchdowns. Now, last year we were talking about, Coach 24 and I, we were talking about that we had Tyreek Hill, we had Travis Kelce, but we really didn't have anybody else. We had Demarcus Robinson, and the other one is just totally just leaving my mind right now. But if those two were shut down, the Chiefs struggled. And so this year is totally different. Tyreek Hill left. Chiefs wasn't going to pay $30 million a year, and nor should they. Now, not saying that Tyreek Hill is worthy of it, because Tyreek Hill had 1,700 plus yards this year. So, he had a phenomenal year, but saying that, you can't, well, I know that Patrick Mahomes has a high salary, but it's still not the highest. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers making $50 million. You actually had Deshaun Watson making more money. You had Russell Wilson making almost that much money. So Patrick Mahomes wasn't the highest paid player, but he was one of the highest. And because of that, they were able to purchase other players and help him become the team that they are. And because of that, he will win the MVP. And I still feel that the Chiefs will make it to the Super Bowl. I had the Chiefs from the word go. I did have the Rams, though, and that didn't work. But saying that, who do you think would make it to the Super Bowl as the NFC representative? Philadelphia. You think that they're going to rest up and then just mow through everybody?
Well, yeah, I'm over here trying to
I know.
trying to get your name right on the show and stuff. I think I figured out how to do that.
Yeah, but, it's BRIA.
Not. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is George Walker here, and we've if you've been trying to find us on Facebook, the name was not right. It called this show Cognitions, which was a show before. So I've been trying to get the name changed. I think I got it changed, and I'm waiting to see it update and stuff now. Yeah. But we ran into just a name on the Facebook that was it, so I've been a little preoccupied. So now you're talking about Philadelphia, and who do they have? No, they got a bye, don't they?
Yeah, they have the bye week just like the Chiefs.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be I tell you, the Chiefs go up against them, we're going to have our hands full. But, we don't have an easy road, so I think if we get there, and I don't know for sure, but to me it seems like the AFC was the Bengals, the Bills, and the Chiefs.
Right.
That was going to be our last bit there, and we didn't get to do it, but it's going to be tough to see how the NFC stacks up against the AFC.
Right.
In that regard, because I think we've got a pretty good looking conference there. So,
well, I'll tell you what, I think the representative, whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's the Bills, whether it's Cincinnati, and to be perfectly honest, I still say the Chiefs, but I do not think it will be anybody else but the Bills, the Bengals, or the Chiefs in the AFC.
Agree with you there.
And they are. I'm serious. They are the best teams. And yes, you have San Francisco. Yes, you have Philadelphia. But really, outside of that, you really don't. I mean, do you see the Giants beating the AFC?
No.
Do you see the Minnesota Vikings beat? And to be perfectly honest,
the Giants aren't consistent. The Vikings are better than the Vikings have been. I kind of like the Vikings as they are, but I don't see that they have it.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think Dallas can do it. I don't think Tampa Bay can do it, though you have Brady, and to be, you always have a chance. But see, last week I picked Tampa Bay to beat Atlanta because I figured Tom Brady was wanting to get that. He didn't want that blemish of having his only season under 500, and that is after 23 years. That is his only season under 500. So. I know that they'll play much better in the playoffs, but I just can't see them beating San Francisco or even Philadelphia to do that.
I think they've got a tougher road than anybody to get up into the finals. I just don't see. I think they were pretty. I won't say lucky, but. They were a squeaker getting into the playoffs, and they've expanded it so more people are in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I don't see that Tampa, but just like you were saying, now Brady, as with a lot of your consummate professionals,
right?
They step up to another level come playoff time.
Right, exactly.
Because the game speeds up, and a lot of time it's the veterans that seem to have the advantage when you start talking about the playoffs. Those guys that have been there before, Very seldom do you see the new guys. I mean, when Patrick Mahomes and them did it, which they really should have did it the year before they did it.
Right.
To be by honesty, but they were kind of like the young guys coming in there and stuff.
Right,
but
exactly.
Generally, it's not like that.
Right. And for the Chiefs, so like in my big fantasy football league, I had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Well, towards the end of the season, Travis Kelce wasn't getting a lot of passes.
No.
But I think they also kind of rested him up to get him ready because, I mean, you can't give him 10 catches a game for 17 games. I mean, that's 170 catches. So I think they totally eased up on him, give him a lighter workload to get him prepared for the playoffs. Now, once this playoffs come, he is going to be the guy, and Patrick Mahomes knows that.
And to make everybody else go ahead and carry their share of the load. Mm-hmm. We've got, like you say, the ball's been spread around. Patrick said that at the beginning of the year. He says you're going to see the ball going to a lot more people.
Yep.
They knew that. That's the game plan. So they've got to stick with their game plan, and that is that it's not going to always be Kelce and Tyreek Hill, which we don't have Hill to go to, and that you're going to have to cover a few more people out there.
Exactly, because any of them can catch passes. And then you've got Jerick McKinnon coming out of the backfield.
And getting the yardage. The backfield with McKinnon and Pacheco back there has definitely changed the tempo of it. I mean, it's, they may run at you or they can catch it coming out of the backfield.
Right.
You just don't know. And both of them are gaining yards.
Oh, yeah.
Our receiving core is a little banged up, but they're basically a good core.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and they got this week off to rest up. I mean, yes, they're still practicing, they're still preparing.
Sure.
But they don't know who they're going to play. But this gives them the opportunity to get rested up. And if McCole Hardman makes it and plays next week, then you have your full lineup of wide receivers.
Oh, yeah. If he's in good shape, it's going to be a whole different animal out there, too, because they didn't have him, and that was – you could see it.
Absolutely.
Because he's a speedster. His hands aren't the best, but they're getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's the thing, because I remember my brother was over his house when Kelce had first come in the league, and the thing he would holler about is this guy drops too many balls.
Yep.
It's not, and what they get him for and this and another, but you've got to work with people.
Right. Well, and Kelce was injured his first year, so he really didn't play a lot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have the Chiefs. And I think they will play either San Francisco or Philadelphia. And right now, I would probably pick Philadelphia just for the fact that it's a Andy Reid type of situation. So now, here's something that won't.
Somebody asked us on there, where's Tyreek? I don't know what. I'm just now seeing that up there.
Oh, where's Tyreek?
Yeah.
Oh, is that Cardis?
It doesn't say.
Oh, man. Well, Tyreek is in Miami. He's counting his money in Miami as they are going to struggle to even score points this weekend against Buffalo. So I'm just telling you that. So I'll bet you it's Cardis since he is since I called him out. So, but no, I think it'll be Philadelphia and the Chiefs, and Chiefs will win. It'll be the Andy Reid show because Philadelphia was where Andy Reid started his head coaching career, and then the Chiefs, obviously. But there could be a first. Patrick Mahomes having a so-called road game because the neutral site will not be a home game. It will be away, which will be in Atlanta. It'll be the Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, is that what they've?
Yeah, it is. It will be in Atlanta, which is perfect because it's 12 hours away from Kansas City. It's 12 hours away from Buffalo. You can't center that any better. You can't favor the Chiefs for it. You can't favor the Buffalo for it. So, and unfortunately, they had that issue with DeMar. and that was unfortunate. So anyway, I want to do Coach 24's penny for your thoughts.
Yes.
And I just want to say Charles White just passed away yesterday at the age of 64. He was the 1979 Heisman Trophy winner from USC. Running back university in the 70s and early 80s, with Ricky Bell, O.J. Simpson, Marcus Allen, and he passed away from cancer. And it just seems like the players that I grew up with and Coach and Walker grew up with and Coach 24 grew up with are starting to fade away again, and it's really sad. So we're going to get off here. And we had a good show. Coach 24 hopefully will be here next week so we can have a awesome show and everything else. Join us in. And with that, with George Walker, DJ Scatter behind the scenes, Coach 24, Darwin Penny, and myself, the awesome voice, Brian Kress. Be awesome, not angry, and you guys have yourself a great playoff weekend.